Welcome to the Redvee TV Show, supported by Chapel House Cars for the 2025 season. And on this week's episode of Redvee TV, we will be discussing Saints in the Cup, James Bell, Conrad Hurrell, and a little team from Yorkshire.
Yes, let's get straight into it.
Straight into it. Saints looking to brew up success in the Cup. But I have to say, Kev, despite the clamour, it won't include tea.
It won't. Yeah, very good. Very good. Very good segue. It won't. Yeah.
We'll get on to that in a minute. Right. First of all, this week, Kev, if the slides want to change, which they for some reason never do. I'm not cutting it. Farewell to Bell. News emerging this week that James Bell is sharing the car with Joe Batch to Hull FC in 2026. Another one out the door. And I've seen, obviously, the narrative once again that we're losing all our players. But James Bell will be 31 as well at the start of the 2026 season. If he's going to got a good, longer deal in Hull, as a club, do you want to be matching that?
I think once you take all the sentiment out of it, and you start take the name James Bell out and just put it as a 30-year-old, 30-year-old quarter player who's not guaranteed in our 17, or hasn't been at the start of this year anyway. You think, well, why would you keep him at the club? And I know there's a good couple of players who fall in that category as well at the moment. Yeah, why would you keep him at the club? I think once you put the name James Bell to it, you're looking at someone who is all action, a good foil for Morgan Knowles at 13. And it means that we've definitely, I'd say, got to recruit at 13 for 2026. Do you want to keep him on a multi-year deal? I suppose it's the old juxtaposition of people are more about the players like Alex Walmsley and Johnny Lomax that we've given multi-year deals to, but then we'll flip-flop and say, well, we should be throwing money and deals at older players like James Bell. Personally, it's probably time for him to have a fresh challenge. I love James Bell. I love what he brings to the club. But we need to sometimes just be ruthless. And I don't think James Bell or, as we mentioned last week, Joe Batchelor are going to necessarily be this. But you've got to sometimes make a mistake with letting an older player or two go, a la Lee Gilmore all those years ago.
I think the difference between offering Alex Walmsley and Johnny Lomax deals when we did, rightly or wrongly, is they were considered first team starters. Both are. Alex Walmsley most definitely is. Johnny Lomax, captain of the club, still is your seven at this moment in time. You've given deals. Now, I don't know whether you ever played Championship Manager or Football Manager, as it later became known, and you go into contract negotiations and you've got to say, well, what you see that player as. You would be opening James Bell's contract negotiations with squad rotation, fringe player, somebody who comes in off the bench and fills a spot. If he's then gone and opened negotiations with Hull and they've said first team player and the first team player, key first team player wage that goes with it, you can understand why he's going to go and look after himself. And Morgan Knowles missed a significant part of last season, and James Bell had opportunity, came into the side, didn't do a lot wrong, but I think we said at the time, and a lot of other people echoed it, to say James Bell is much better when he comes in and makes an impact from the bench. He's not somebody who is starting in your starting 13 week in, week out. And we've struggled as a club over the last two seasons, and there hasn't been the clamour for James Bell to be in that starting 13 to improve things week in, week out. So, as a club, if we want to get back to the level we want to be at, which is top of the tree, winning the trophies, do we need to have that squad refresh and aim higher?
I think sometimes you've got to just refresh, and it means losing a couple of fans' favourites or cult heroes or whatever you want to call them. I think there's a bunch of fans who absolutely love Dom Peru when he played for the club, but you've got to refresh and you've got to try and get someone who is a little step ahead, whether that is in playing style, in the fact that all clubs want cheaper wages, higher output from players. Let's not be say it's been cheap, say it's been clever as any other club. But I think sometimes you just do. You need that refresh, and it means tough calls have got to be made. Um, I think James Bell's been great for this club. I think what he's brought off the bench, probably prior to last season, has been outstanding. In fact, he won Player of the Year, didn't he? But as he's saying, it's just an opinion. It's just my opinion. I think James Bell is better off the bench, and in reality, you want him. You want a player in that 13 role who pushes for a couple of starts, and not just when the incumbent is fit, but just to give that bit of rotation, give that bit of a change. He seems to be more of a ball playing 13 than Morgan Knowles, and that seems good when he comes off the bench after 20 minutes, and you see that he brings the energy and maintains that energy. And I don't think that's always happened when he started games. I'd have been quite open about that on here, on groups that we're in. Um, as I say, it's just an opinion, but you probably do have to bring fresh faces in, or give lads the chance who are in the reserves or fringes, the peripheries of the first team, and see how you go with them, and kind of move the club forward.
And I think that's the thing as well. Listen, we've always said you can't just build a squad of 1 to 17. You've got to have a squad of 25 players you can select comfortably in your squad um, on any given week, given injuries. But if James Bell is a squad rotation player on the fringes, you've got the likes of Leon Cowan and that coming through, who at some point have to become those players before they step into first team roles. And do you know what? I'm absolutely delighted if James Bell has gone and got himself a really good deal at Hull. He'll It's good for him, it's good for his family, it's good for his career. He's only got it's a very limited career in rugby league, and if he's got probably one big contract left in him, which is this one, and he's got the opportunity to go to Hull and play week in, week out. And do you know what? He will improve their team. It's a
Yeah,
win for pretty much everyone on this one, and he'll go with our best wishes. And do you know what? I'm glad that we're seeing players going out the door with no animosity from any side whatsoever, and it's not people delighted to see someone leave or as we've had in the past. It's going to be tinged with a little bit of sadness because he's been part of a couple of really good Saints teams, um, but it's sometimes just the right time.
yeah, it's tough, isn't it? It's tough when you start dismantling squads of what has been obviously past 2 years apart, but has been such a good generation of players for us. But you've just got to do it. Sometimes you've got to do it, and you've got to give. Whether you mentioned Leon Cowan, mentioned Jake Davis, who plays second row. These lads haven't made an appearance for the first team. We don't know if they're going to make it or not. I'm not going to heap pressure on either of them to be the next James Bell, the next Joe Batchelor, and I don't think anybody should. But as you say, they've got to come up and start making the odd appearance, and then putting together maybe a dozen appearances, then a couple more. Do they make it? And it might not be either of them names, as I say, but you need to kind of see if they can do it as well. And you can't let if it was all on sentiment, then we'd still have players at the club who are now bobbling about in the lower reaches, or who have retired. If you were going to try and keep players on and on forever, you can't do it. It's impossible. And I'll always go back to my quote of, it's not fantasy rugby league. You can't keep everyone all the time. You've got to release some of your salary cap pressure so you can spend it either on different areas of the squad or refreshing your squad.
Yeah, I speak about the young players, but if you could go into the market and sign the equivalent of a James Bell on similar wages to be in your squad rotation, but 5 years younger,
Yeah,
and just give you them fresher legs and for like Joe Batchelor, you're hoping that we can go back into the market and not just have a look round the championship. There is good players playing in the championship. We've had Alex Walmsley come through that route. We've had Joe Batchelor come through that route from York. So hopefully our scouting network isn't just looking at out of contract Super League players or the NRL, and hopefully we'll have a look round the championship and try and get the next bright star from there who can step up and do it in Super League as well.
yeah, you've got to be creative. You've got to be under in a salary cap sport. You've got to be creative, and that's one way to be creative.
One thing we weren't creative in was giving Conrad Hurrell a new deal for 2025. He's been out on dual reg the last couple of weeks with Halifax Panthers and unfortunately has suffered a hamstring injury, which is now going to keep him out for 4 to 6 weeks. So the question I'm going to start with, Kev, for you is what was the thought process in giving Conrad a new deal for 2025?
Um, in a salary cap sport, was he cheaper than other options available? Good fit in the squad, and when they weighed everything up, that was the decision they went with. That's the only thing I can think of, because with 27 games in your regular season, it would probably have been the ideal time to rotate your centres with Harry Robertson getting games, Johnny Vaughan getting games. Surprised who wasn't a boo in the background when that's been said. Ben Davies getting games, and possibly Owen Dagnall getting games, and seeing how they go, and just giving yourself 12 months while you look for someone else, or you find that you've got the answer on your doorstep. At the minute, Harry Robertson's doing great, but I don't see, and I don't envisage Saints playing him all 27 regular rounds of Super League. I don't think that's fair on the lad for his. But is this his first full season? He came in halfway through last season
Yeah,
as a full-time pro. I don't see us putting him through that, because I don't necessarily think it's fair. I think you've got to bring someone in, even if it's just for 2 or 3 games, just to give him that rest, mental recharge, and then come back into it.
Kev, next question then. At the
Yeah,
point we offered Conrad Hurrell a new deal, was that before Harry Robertson came into the thinking to be starting centre?
again, pass. I'd
I, I,
seen,
I
I'd
just I
seen.
just don't see it. If Harry was going to be your starting centre, why would you then give Konnie a deal? I,
Yeah,
and I know
you've
we've
got.
talked quite frequently, haven't we, saying Konnie needs to be playing rugby to get his fitness. Um, and listen, he's out on dual reg. It keeps him ticking over. Unfortunately, he suffered an injury. Um, I just feel at this moment in time, in terms of the way the squad is and the makeup and the finances, buyer's regret.
Possibly. And listen, any player can pick up a hamstring injury. Any player can. Obviously, your older players are probably more susceptible to injuries than anyone else. Um, but as I've said, I hope he proves me wrong. I hope second half of the season he absolutely proves me wrong. And no one would be happier than me if he proved me wrong. I just I don't get it. I just don't. I think he's been great for us, but this is a season too far for me. Um, yeah,
And if you're
they've got.
being ruthless on not, I say not giving Batch and Bell deals, but then they may have been offered a year or so, and that's what Connie has. Um, I just feel with the injuries he suffered last year, and him being out of contract, that would have been the time to wish him well and move on. And he goes as a cult hero. Unfortunately, now he's at the age where he's going to be prone to injuries. He's out for 6 weeks, which takes us to what, round 10 or so. Um,
Yeah.
then he's got to get his fitness back. It could be round 15, 16 before you'd even at the stage where you could potentially put him back into the team.
Yeah, possibly so. As I said with James Bell, over 30 quarter, not guaranteed in our 17. Just makes you kind of wonder why it's been done. If it was just right, we've got someone who we know fits in with the culture, fits in with what we want in the changing room, fits in under salary cap. Then fair enough. Like you kind of can see that whether you'd have actually invested the money in him. I'm not sure. I don't think I would have. And I think I've been quite honest about that. And it's tough talking about players in this ilk who've done well for us. But again, I'm hoping Saints are becoming more ruthless. I just feel like they possibly could have done it a couple of months before that.
Have you ever seen the film Moneyball, Kev?
I'm aware of it. I've never seen it.
Starring Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
And it was in baseball, wasn't it?
yeah.
And
Was it the Oakland Athletics?
yeah, and they picked the team based on like mathematical
Yeah,
scenarios, etc. I wonder now whether when we give contracts out, we're moving forward, and we're going to be pretty ruthless in terms of what we offer to certain players at certain stages of their careers.
yeah. I
And
hope they are.
and it might not be exact, and it might not work all the time, but more often than not, if you follow your gut feeling or your spreadsheet, you'll get it right.
Yeah, and I think I'll go back to me over 30 quarter, not guaranteed in your 17. Your quarter players should be absolutely in your 17 every week, even if they are interchange props or anything like that. That's absolutely fine. If you've got like I mentioned Iggy Parsi, if you've got an Iggy Parsi in your team who's better as an interchange prop, brings the energy, brings the goal forward, but he's wearing number 14 and he's coming off the bench and running at people, and skittling them, great. And you look at players who've done that for us in the past, where you've had like Mossy Masai, you've had Morifasavalu, absolutely fine with that. But when you're not near the 17, you're not getting picked in the 21 even. I find it hard to tally. Um, I find it hard to tally why we handed out that extra year.
Cup action returns to the Totally Wicked Stadium this week, and Saints, after progressing against a spirited West Hull side, uh, have managed to land um, Super League opposition at home. Um, we've avoided the big boys though, and we've got Leeds Rhinos this week, which should be a nice pick me up after a tough game against Hull KR last week.
I hope they bring the same attacking game as did against Catalan, where they failed to trouble the scorers. Um,
For the
that
third year in a
whole
row.
I think the whole KR game for us should be a jolt as to where we are, really. Um, I think we'll discuss that in depth a little bit more as we go on, but we've got to be looking at getting back on the horse this week and showing what we're actually about and getting through to the next round against Leeds. We've got to do that. We've got to kind of put Hull KR to one side, use it as a barometer yet of where we are, but look at Leeds. And in fact, I've just got them up on before the Leeds results over this season, where they've obviously beat West Warriors in the Cup 92-0, got beaten by Wakefield, beat Salford, I think everybody has. 14-point win over Castleford, and then beaten by Catalan. You've got to look at that and think, well, Leeds are up and down like a fiddler's elbow. Got to get into it, got to get at it. But I'd imagine, I mean, the only change that you'd imagine would happen will be Matty Lees coming back in. But and that's based on what usually happens with squads where you have a settled kind of 17, 18 who come in every week. But with the likes of Moses and with the likes of James Bell probably pushing for game time, it wouldn't surprise me to see the odd little change just to give maybe the odd body a week off and let him kind of get back ready for league action.
That said, getting through is the most important thing here.
Yeah,
Only one Challenge Cup success for Saints in the last 17 years. For a club of our stature and the sides we've had and the Super League trophies we've won, is that embarrassing?
a little, yeah. Yeah, we should be. And
Saints should be at
the cup,
Wembley every other year, pretty much.
the,
Or we
the
should
cup,
be, yeah, we should be.
the
With
cup.
the money we have and the squad we've got, we've had too many failures in the cup.
Yeah, I'll get this sentence out. The cup's a tough one though. That it's you get a bad draw, bad week for you, where you've got to go away to Catalan or you've got to go to Wigan or someone like that, someone who's in form or just sometimes downright better than you, and it makes it tougher to get through. And you just have one off week and you're out the competition. It's not like Super League where God, how many off weeks did we have last year and still managed to get into the playoffs? Um, so yeah, it is tougher to get there, but as you say, a club of our stature should be kind of challenging the finals a lot more often than we have done.
Easy decision this week that Matty Lee's in. Noah out, given that he only got about 9 minutes last week, which was a waste of an interchange spot.
Yeah, I think it will be. Hopefully, we don't put that man in the picture through doing Matty Lee style minutes. I don't think you can keep doing that to a young man. It took Matty Lee's years to get up to that level. I hope we're not flogging George Delaney too early on that. As I say, it wouldn't surprise me to see one or two. I don't necessarily know who, but one or two drop out to give them a rest. Whether the likes of Moses could come in on the bench, or James Bell comes in for the likes of maybe Jake Wingfield or Batch or someone like that. I'm just throwing names out there to be fair, but it wouldn't surprise me just to see, even if we did see one, maybe two changes, just to freshen things up a little bit, not keep putting lads through it.
I seen one wag on X Twitter suggest that Leeds squad is better than St Helens.
Just going to see if I can find my other pair of glasses and see if I'm definitely reading the right one. Listen, there's players in that squad who you would have.
I'd have Harry Newman,
Yeah,
Ash Hanley.
I'd have Ash Hanley as a winger. Yeah,
Yeah, at the moment, ahead of Lewis Murphy, only because Lewis is injured.
yeah.
And he's probably, and to be fair, Ash Hanley's got the pedigree. Um, Brody Croft, potentially, in for
Mm,
Johnny.
I think we've got players at the club I'd rather have starting
Yeah.
first.
Um,
Aletsky, arguably.
James McDonald,
Having,
squad player, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you who, if you could get one of them actually singing week in week out and not just whinging, like it'll always come back to that win over Huddersfield where
No,
Noel
don't
Clark
say it.
got under his skin. Yeah, if you could get him singing week in week out, I'd have him as a centre. He wouldn't get in at fullback. He might get in the halves to be fair, but you definitely have him as a centre because he can make things happen. The only problem is he just whinges too much. It
Is this
allows him to be put off his game.
is this a game we should be winning and must be winning?
Um, yeah, because it's at home. It's at home against a team who um, have been up and down this season. So really, we should be. The only problem is if we put ourselves under the pump again. I don't know Hull KR kind of battered us in every facet of the game on Friday, but if we put ourselves under the pump, then and we've got too much to do. If we go back into that one-out rugby again, we'll struggle because it's rubbish. It's absolutely rubbish rugby. That last couple of minutes when we needed 10 points and we're still trying to trundle it up the middle instead of, you know what, just risk it. Just risk it. Our halfbacks need to get their hands on the ball earlier. Our props need to set the tone. Our second rowers, our loose forwards, need to get involved. We need everybody to be at 6 out of 10 and better. Because when you've got people who just aren't pulling the type out, whether that's through illness, injury, or just getting absolutely bullied, you're always going to struggle. And whether that could be against any Super League team out there.
Can I give a little bit of rose-tinted happy clapper positivity?
Go for it.
There is an argument that as bad as we were last week, the tries we conceded. So the first one was the crossfield kick that we didn't deal with. Your wingers should, or your defence should be just catching that ball, shouldn't they?
Yeah.
So you don't concede that try. The second try on the stroke of half time comes about from us being penalised um, for a non-penalty, essentially on Kyle Felt. It was the softest penalty you'll ever see. So you don't give that try away. The third try, again, crossfield kick where Kyle Felt doesn't jump. Doesn't look like he could jump given the strapping on his leg, but he doesn't jump and we concede there. If we don't concede that try, we then don't concede the next try on the back-to-back sets from the kickoff. And all of a sudden, Saints have come away and they've won that game 10-0.
And if my auntie had balls, she'd be my uncle.
But what it's shown is we're not getting defensively. The first 20 minutes we were spot on. The attack was absolute tripe. It was disgraceful. Our attack last week, but we're not conceding loads of soft tries. It's silly errors that have led to some of them.
I think
I told you it was rose tinted.
yeah, it definitely was. I think my thought with it is we got absolutely banjoed by him last season in a game that was only notable for George Whitby winning some money for you when he scored his try. The fact that we were resilient, yeah, I get that. I completely agree with you. The resilience there is a positive to take out the game. You've got to put it into context. As I say, I think we need to do a show on kind of where we are and where we're up to. Might be a good one after the cup to do. But it kind of shows where we're up to against the team who is pretty much expected to be top two again this year, would you say, Hull KR? So there are positives. However, stuff like it was a nothing penalty. Don't get in that situation.
Oh,
You're in that situation, you give it away. Yeah.
and
And,
listen,
and,
I
and
was
then,
calling for that at the time, Kev. I was
yeah,
saying, get off him. It's the last tackle. They're on the halfway line. What are we doing?
yeah,
We give ourselves opportunities to be penalised, and I said that was
yeah,
the rose tinted, one-eyed view. Um, I'm taking nothing away from a very, very good Hull KR side who soundly beat us.
yeah.
No arguments with the score whatsoever and made us look amateur at times, especially our attack. Not crossing the halfway line after the first 20 minutes was abysmal. But I'm just presenting it. Maybe when it's not quite as not rosy as we think. Don't know. Unrosy, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah,
let's
I get.
beat Leeds.
Yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying. You're saying it's not all bad. There are some good bits even to pick out of that pile of muck. Yeah, that's fair.
First of all, you've got to start catching the ball from the kicks. But
Yeah.
anyway, right.
Anyway, Saints by 40.
Saints by 24,
Wow, okay.
and will probably be two more than Leeds will bring. Remember when they used to be a big club?
I think there used to be more about it, didn't there? Is that just how Super League's gone? When I remember, like some games, you'd be properly up for it. They might even be Saturday evening in Super League. They've all dyed their hair pink, and you're proper looking forward to games against them because
Who's
you know
died today? Pink the players or the fans?
Leeds did it. Leeds players did it, didn't they? And you look forward to playing them because you know it's going to be a real spectacle. Like you go over to their place, and going over to Headingley was always horrible because time seemingly went really slowly, and there'd always just be a try in it, and then Kevin Sinfield would kick long, and somehow they'd get the ball back, and yeah, it'd just be there'd be something about it. And you feel like that's kind of gone a little bit at the moment. Well, it's going to be cyclical, and it'll come round again, and them games will get bigger again. But I feel like they've kind of gone round a bit.
Yeah, it's they've all fell off the bandwagon and jumped back onto the footy, haven't they?
Yeah.
Right. So that is the show. Leeds Cup Friday night. Conrad Hurrell discussed, and we've said so long to Jimmy Ding Dong. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Credit to Rich for that last bit. Bye.